let us all do we can to build a better future.
Well, we go from the fire into the frying pan, but this is actually not a terrible story, although it's sort of... it is a very terrible story. So let's talk about it, and let's hope that what I'm about to read spreads very quickly from just 1% of the U.S. population, as it is now. Ready for this? Police can no longer lie to kids to put them in jail for the rest of their life.
Madness.
Yeah. Police will be forbidden, and this is a Chicago story, so actually we're doing something decent. So apparently the first place to do it. Police will be forbidden from using deceptive tactics while interrogating minors under a measure Governor J.B. Pritzker signed into law Thursday that made Illinois the first state in the nation to ban the practice. The bill was one of several Pritzker signed on a Monday in a morning ceremony that, together with a sweeping piece of legislation that he approved earlier this year that includes the elimination of cash bail, represent a major overhaul of the criminal justice system in Illinois. Under his watch, I got to give it to him. He's doing, I mean, for an Illinois governor, he's doing a decent job. I wish he did more. Wish he was able to get progressive tax done. He didn't get that done. But this is something, at least now, that we can say is positive. But again, what does it say about Illinois up to now and every state that continuing?
Agreed.
Advocates of the new law dealing with how police interrogate minors say lying or using other deceptive actions while questioning a young person that can lead to false confessions and ultimately wrongful convictions. Terrell Swift, who spent 15 years in prison after falsely confessing to a 1994 rape and murder, says that's what happened to him. DNA evidence later tied the crime to a previously convicted murderer and sex offender. So those tactics took away some young person's entire childhood, young adult life, and adult life just because the cops were like, let's lie to this kid who's probably going to believe us because he's terrified. We can all agree that one day in prison wrongfully is too long. Swift, one of the Englewood 4 teens who were wrongly convicted of the crime, said during a bill signing at Northwestern University's Pritzker School of Law, because he's, of course, a billionaire and spends money in places, the law, which takes effect on January 1st, so cops are free to do it right now, apparently, bars police from knowingly providing false evidence about information about evidence or making unauthorized statements about leniency while questioning those 17 and younger. Any confession made under those circumstances will be inadmissible in court unless prosecutors can prove by a preponderance of the evidence, and something our justice system is supposedly built on, that confession was voluntarily given. Quote, "My deep hope is that Illinois is setting an example for the entire nation to pass this law in all 50 states," Pritzker said. "The issue of minors being deceived into giving false confessions isn't merely hypothetical," said Laura Milder, co-founder of the Center on Wrongful Convictions at Northwestern Law School. "In Illinois alone, we know of 100 wrongful convictions that have been based on false confessions. And in 31 of those cases, the person who falsely confessed was a child." So 1/3. And if I'm not mistaken, children don't commit 1/3 of crimes. Definitely don't. But it seems they're the most easily to convince that everyone has abandoned them and that evidence has been framed against them and they don't have a lawyer and they have nothing to do and they don't have a lawyer to tell them otherwise. And so they're told that they have no choice. Hey kid, well, we're going to stick you with a needle and kill you if you don't admit to these 2 murders. We have your evidence at the scene. We have eyewitnesses there. They said you did it by name. If you sign this confession, we'll only give you 10 years. And then, of course, they lie and they give them life. So many children who falsely confess do so because they were told downright falsehoods during interrogations, like your DNA was found at the scene, or if you confess, you'll go home.
Oh, that's such a nightmare. Dan, I'm going to rewind back the clocks, but in 2018, you know what? Just to be fair to the story, when we clip it out over the weekend, underneath that tweet, I will tweet this video out and also have underneath it that video that we did in 2018 was the Exoneration Project. There were 16 black men in 2018, thanks to the Exoneration Project, that found them all innocent because they are accused of crimes that they did not commit by 4 corrupt Chicago police officers. When we covered that event, all the members of the press were there. When we were leaving, I think Daniel and I, we were speechless. We were surprised at just how bad this is, and basically how we just basically scratched the surface. Those 16 men were found innocent. How many more men, no matter how old they or young they are behind bars here in the city of Chicago for crimes that they did not commit? And it was this article here. It's barbaric. It's sad to even think that this is happening, but this is happening not only just here in the city, but nationwide. And another thing, too, to point out, especially when we got done covering that event, when we were there in the elevator going down, again, Daniel and I were speechless. Well, you know what we hear the reporters and the camera crews talking about? How little they're all getting paid. It's a mad world we're living in, and this is why we need independent media. This is why we need to have real accountability. I'm glad that the Pritzker administration is taking care of this. Just how long has this been going on before the Pritzker administration? And look, we got our criticism of Governor J.B. Pritzker. He is no saint. But, hey, at least his administration is acknowledging that there's something happening here and that there's something going to be done. But, again, the bigger issue is we didn't scratch the surface. We just dusted the table off. This problem is a nationwide problem because there's a lot of young children who are afraid. And, look, when you're a kid in a prison, in a police department, or you're in that closed interrogation room, you're scared, you're alone.
You call your parents, you say, I want to go home, and they go, okay, just sign here.
You only can imagine.
By the way, isn't it fascinating that you're really not legally, your signature that you do on any federal document or legal document that if you're under 18 requires a parent's signature? Apparently not with cops.
Yeah.
That's another interesting thing. I want everyone watching this show that feels that this is a fair thing to do. Is obviously we're not going to tell you guys what to do. We're just going to tell you our opinions. But if you know any kids, let them know. If they're not in Illinois, well, technically by the start of next year, cops can lie to them and tell them anything and to not believe it.
Yes. Know your rights.
Don't sign anything.
Know your rights, no matter what state you live in, what city you live in, what township you live in. It's very important that you know your rights as a sovereign individual person so that you are not abused by this corrupt system. How many young children did this happen to? Right now, I'm dreading to think it, but we have to find out now. We need to know. We need a real media that's going to actually do this and go into the research. And more importantly now, what I'm thinking is all these prisons that we do pass by, we got to get these people out. So how many are innocent?
And let's be real on all this as well. There are a number of people that we don't know who were kids who did nothing wrong, were coerced by police, by liar cops, maliciously lying cops, who just wanted to get a case closed, even if it wasn't the right person, who signed these confessions and are now slaves in for-profit prisons, barely getting food or anything else, but are working for someone else's benefit and profit. How dare we call ourselves the land of the free?
Slavery still exists. In the richest country in the world, slavery still exists. And it shouldn't be this way.